How to eat eggs correctly if you are diabetic to keep your blood sugar under control. Let me ask you something very personal, and I want you to really think about this before you answer. How many times have you sat down at the breakfast table, cracked open an egg, and then stopped yourself mid-bite because somewhere in the back of your mind a voice whispered, "Should I even be eating this? Is this going to spike my blood sugar? Is this going to make things worse?" And then you either pushed the plate away out of fear, or you went ahead and ate it but felt guilty the whole time. I know that feeling. I have sat across from hundreds of patients in my office, and I have watched that exact fear play out on their faces. The fear of food. The fear that one wrong meal could tip everything in the wrong direction. And if you are living with diabetes, that fear is not irrational. It comes from a real place. But here is what I also know. That fear, in the case of eggs, is largely built on confusion, outdated information, and frankly, some myths that have been circulating for decades. And today, I am going to clear all of that up for you. My name is Dr. Richard Ben, and on this channel we talk about real health solutions that actually work for real people. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you are going to look at eggs in a completely different way. And more importantly, you are going to know exactly how to use them to your advantage as a diabetic. Let's start from the very beginning, because I think a lot of people jump straight into what to eat without understanding why. And if you do not understand the why, the advice never truly sticks. So let's talk about what is actually happening inside your body when you have diabetes and when you sit down to eat any meal. When you have type 2 diabetes or even pre-diabetes, your body has developed what we call insulin resistance. Your pancreas is still producing insulin, but your cells have stopped responding to it the way they should. Think of it like a key that no longer fits the lock properly. Your blood sugar rises after eating, your pancreas sends out insulin to deal with it, but the door doesn't open as efficiently. Over time, your blood sugar stays elevated longer than it should. And chronic high blood sugar is what causes the complications we all dread: nerve damage, kidney problems, eye issues, cardiovascular disease. So when you are managing diabetes through diet, the number one thing you are always trying to do is prevent dramatic spikes in blood sugar after meals. You want a slow, steady, controlled rise, not a sharp jump. And this is exactly where eggs become one of the most powerful tools in a diabetic's kitchen. Now here is something I want you to write down, or at least remember. Eggs have a glycemic index of essentially 0. 0. That means when you eat eggs by themselves, they cause virtually no rise in blood sugar whatsoever. Why? Because eggs contain almost no carbohydrates. One large egg has less than 1 gram of carbohydrate. That is practically nothing. So the fear that eating an egg is going to spike your blood sugar, that fear in isolation is simply not supported by the science. But I am going to take this even deeper, because it is not just about what eggs do not do. It is about what they actively, powerfully do for you as a diabetic. Eggs are packed with high-quality protein. One large egg contains about 6 grams of complete protein, meaning it contains all 9 essential amino acids your body cannot produce on its own. Now, why does protein matter for blood sugar control? Because protein slows down digestion. When you eat protein alongside other foods, even foods that do contain carbohydrates, that protein acts like a brake pedal. It slows the entire digestive process down, which means glucose enters your bloodstream more slowly and more steadily. That is exactly what you want. That steady, gradual release of glucose, rather than a flood that overwhelms your insulin response. So eggs, by nature of their protein content, are actively helping you manage your blood sugar response across the entire meal, not just contributing 0 themselves. But that is not all. Eggs are also rich in healthy fats. Yes, fat. I know we have been conditioned for decades to fear fat, especially dietary fat. especially in people with diabetes who already worry about cardiovascular health. But the science on dietary fat has evolved enormously. And what we now understand is that the fat in eggs, which is largely unsaturated with some saturated, does not spike blood sugar at all. And it actually contributes to that same blood sugar stabilizing effect that protein provides. Fat slows gastric emptying. It slows the rate at which food moves from your stomach into your small intestine, which further blunts that post-meal blood sugar spike. So between the zero carbohydrates, the high protein, and the healthy fats, eggs are genuinely one of the most blood sugar-friendly foods you could possibly eat. Now let me talk about the cholesterol question because I know it is sitting right there in your mind. For years, and I mean decades, people were told that eggs were dangerous because of their cholesterol content. One large egg contains about 186 milligrams of dietary cholesterol. And for a long time, the medical establishment told patients to avoid eggs to protect their heart. And since many diabetics already have elevated cardiovascular risk, the fear of eggs became even more pronounced in that population. But here is the truth, and this is very important, so please pay close attention. For the vast majority of people, dietary cholesterol, the cholesterol you eat, does not significantly raise the cholesterol levels in your blood. Your liver produces the overwhelming majority of the cholesterol in your bloodstream, roughly 80% of it. And when you eat more dietary cholesterol, your liver actually compensates by producing less. Your body is incredibly smart. The major drivers of dangerous LDL cholesterol and cardiovascular risk are trans fats and excessive refined carbohydrates, not the cholesterol naturally found in whole eggs. Major health organizations around the world, including the American Diabetes Association, have revised their guidance and no longer recommend strict limits on egg consumption for most people. Now, I always tell my patients, every body is different, and if you have a specific lipid disorder or your doctor has given you personalized guidance about eggs, please follow that. But for the general diabetic population, eggs are not the cardiovascular villain they were once made out to be. So now that we have cleared the air on the science, let me get into the practical side, because this is really where I want to spend some time with you. Because how you eat eggs matters just as much as whether you eat eggs. And this is where most people make their mistakes. The first thing I want to talk about is cooking method. This is huge, and it is almost never discussed. The way you prepare your egg dramatically changes its health impact, especially for a diabetic. Let me walk you through the best and worst methods. The best methods for diabetics are boiling, poaching, and scrambling with minimal added fat using a non-stick pan. When you hard boil or soft boil an egg, you are preserving the nutrition, you are adding 0 extra calories, 0 extra fat from cooking oils, and the egg itself is doing exactly what it should do for your blood sugar. Nothing negative and everything positive. Poached eggs are equally excellent for the same reasons. No oil needed. The egg is cooked gently in water. The protein and fat structure is preserved beautifully, and your blood sugar is going to have a very smooth response. Scrambled eggs can be wonderful for diabetics, but the key is being mindful about what you cook them in and what you add to them. Scrambling in a small amount of olive oil or avocado oil, perfectly fine. In fact, adding a little olive oil increases the healthy fat content and further supports blood sugar stability. But scrambling in large amounts of butter, adding heavy cream, loading them with full-fat cheese, and then serving them on 2 slices of white toast, that is where we start to undermine the benefits. Not because the eggs are suddenly bad. The eggs are still fine, but because the overall meal has changed significantly in terms of glycemic load and saturated fat content. Now let me talk about frying, because I know so many people love fried eggs. Frying is not necessarily off the table for diabetics, but you need to be smart about it. Frying in extra virgin olive oil in small quantities is actually quite reasonable. Frying in refined vegetable oils, deep frying, or frying in lots of butter regularly is something to minimize. The egg itself is still not raising your blood sugar, but the overall dietary pattern matters for your long-term metabolic health. The worst preparation for a diabetic? Eggs served in heavily processed combinations. Think of a fast food breakfast sandwich where you have got a fried egg, processed cheese, a sausage patty or bacon, all sandwiched between a refined white flour bun. Now, the egg in that sandwich is still fine, but everything surrounding it has completely changed the nutritional picture. You have got refined carbohydrates from the bun, processed meat high in sodium and potentially harmful preservatives, and the kind of overall inflammatory meal pattern that works directly against good blood sugar control over time. So be smart about the company your eggs keep. This brings me to one of the most powerful strategies I teach my patients, and it is something you can implement starting tomorrow morning. I call it the anchor principle. Use eggs as your anchor food at breakfast, and then build the rest of your meal around blood sugar-friendly choices. Let me paint you a picture of a genuinely excellent diabetic breakfast built around eggs. Start with 2 eggs, however you like them prepared, whether boiled, poached, or scrambled in olive oil. Add half an avocado on the side. Avocado gives you incredible healthy monounsaturated fats. It is extremely low in carbohydrates. It is loaded with fiber, and it further supports that slow, steady blood sugar response. Add a handful of sautéed spinach or kale. Dark leafy greens are remarkably low in carbohydrates, incredibly high in nutrients, and they contain compounds like magnesium that actually improve insulin sensitivity. Maybe add a few slices of tomato. If you want some complexity, add a small amount of smoked salmon, which gives you additional protein and omega-3 fatty acids that reduce inflammation. This meal has essentially 0 glycemic impact. It is deeply nourishing. It is satisfying. It will keep you full for hours, and it will set your blood sugar up for stability for the entire morning. That is the power of eggs done right. Now let me talk about quantity, because I know people wonder, how many eggs is it safe to eat when you are diabetic? Research generally supports that most healthy diabetic individuals can consume up to 2 whole eggs per day as part of a balanced diet without negative effects on blood lipids or glycemic control. Some studies have actually looked at higher consumption, and the results have been generally reassuring. But here is my practical guidance. If you are eating eggs every single day, keep it to 1 to 2 whole eggs, and vary your other protein sources throughout the week. Include fish, legumes, poultry, and other plant-based proteins as well. It is not that you need to be afraid of eating 3 eggs one morning, but variety in protein sources is part of a robust, anti-inflammatory diet that supports long-term blood sugar health. I also want to address egg whites versus whole eggs, because some diabetics have been told to ditch the yolk entirely and only eat egg whites. Now, egg whites are indeed very low in calories and essentially pure protein with virtually no fat or cholesterol. If you are someone who specifically needs to manage cholesterol levels very aggressively based on your doctor's guidance, focusing more on egg whites can be reasonable. But here is what you lose when you throw away the yolk. The yolk contains most of the egg's nutrients, including vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are fat-soluble and only found in meaningful amounts in the yolk. The yolk contains choline, which is essential for brain health and liver function. The yolk contains lutein and zeaxanthin, powerful antioxidants that protect your eyes, which is critically important for diabetics who face elevated risk of diabetic retinopathy. The yolk contains the healthy fats that contribute to satiety and blood sugar stability. So for most diabetics, throwing away the yolk is actually losing the most nutritious part of the egg. My recommendation? Eat the whole egg. Be thoughtful about preparation and enjoy the full nutritional benefit. Let me also talk about timing, because this is something that is underappreciated in diabetes nutrition. When you eat matters. For diabetics, starting the day with a high-protein, high-fat, low-carbohydrate meal like an egg-based breakfast can set a positive trajectory for blood sugar management throughout the entire day. Research has shown that what you eat for breakfast can influence your blood sugar response to subsequent meals, a concept called the second meal effect or the carbohydrate economy. When you have a blood sugar stable morning anchored by protein and fat from eggs, you tend to have less pronounced spikes at lunch and dinner as well. This is a powerful tool, and it costs you nothing to implement. There is one more thing I want to address before I wrap up, and it is something I think about a lot as a physician. The psychological aspect of eating with diabetes is real and it is powerful. When you are constantly living in fear of your food, that stress itself has a measurable negative impact on your blood sugar. The stress hormone cortisol raises blood glucose directly. So if you have been avoiding eggs out of fear, and that fear has been causing you to feel restricted and anxious around food, then correcting that fear, understanding clearly with confidence that eggs are safe and beneficial for you, actually helps your blood sugar management beyond just the nutritional chemistry. I want you to feel empowered at your breakfast table. I want you to crack that egg and know with confidence that you are making a great choice for your body and your metabolic health. So let me bring everything together in a practical summary that you can carry with you into your kitchen starting today. Eggs have essentially zero effect on blood sugar. Their high protein and healthy fat content actively stabilizes your blood sugar response across the entire meal. The cholesterol in eggs does not meaningfully raise blood cholesterol for most people, and the science has moved well beyond the outdated guidance that said to avoid them. Boiling, poaching, and careful scrambling are your best cooking methods. Pair eggs with vegetables, healthy fats like avocado and olive oil, and low glycemic foods. Avoid pairing them with refined carbohydrates, heavily processed meats, and large amounts of added saturated fat. 1 to 2 whole eggs per day is a well-supported, safe, and genuinely beneficial target for most diabetics. Eat whole eggs rather than just whites to capture the full spectrum of nutrients, especially for eye and brain health. And use eggs as your anchor food at breakfast to set up blood sugar stability for the entire day. If you found this information helpful, if it changed the way you think about eggs and diabetes, I want to hear from you in the comments below. Tell me what your current breakfast looks like, and tell me how you are going to use this information going forward. And if you have a friend or a family member who is living with diabetes and has been afraid of eggs, please share this video with them. It could genuinely make a difference in their daily life. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell notification so you never miss a video, because we are going deeper into diabetes nutrition, blood sugar management, and metabolic health every single week. This is Dr. Richard Ben reminding you that real health is built one informed choice at a time. I will see you in the next video.